go. Steelers, here we go. Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. Here we go.
Welcome to another edition of Stairway to 7. We're here. So, last week the Steelers surprised me. Probably surprised a lot of other people. They actually beat a team that they should have beaten. I mean, but I will be honest. It was once again looking pretty dangerous in the third quarter. I mean, the Colts, they made so many changes after that first half that they almost came back and won, and they would have won it had the Steelers not done anything like they were doing for the first maybe about 20 minutes of the third quarter. What am I saying? 20 minutes of the second half, I should say. 15 minutes, 5 minutes, and then by the fourth quarter, they finally put a drive together that eventually ended up becoming the difference maker in the touchdown. A play that is a drive that apparently was not called by Matt Canada. It was called by Kenny Pickett, which should basically tell you everything you need to know about how Matt Canada just needs to go at this point. But still has a job, and here we have another test this week for the Steelers. It's the Atlanta Falcons. The Falcons have been a mixed bag this season. They've looked sometimes they've looked decent with Marcus Mariota under center. They have Cordero Patterson, who has been such a deep running back threat for the last couple of years. Drake London's a talented young rookie that they have there, and they were going to have Kyle Pitts, but then he went on IR for the rest of the season. So again, on paper, this should be a game that the Steelers should win, but I don't know, man. I just got that feeling that, again, it's gonna be one of those games where they should win it, and yet somehow they just let Cordero Patterson run all over them. I feel like that running game is just gonna be the caveat in this particular matchup, especially with T.J. Watt not being 100%. He's got I think he had like a rib injury or something going on, but he's gonna play tomorrow. But hey, if the Steelers can get that running game going with Najee Harris, who at the early part of the week, he didn't look like he was going to play because he left the game against the Colts at the half. But I guess he's going to play tomorrow. So if they can get that running game going, and if Kenny Pickett can continue to progress like he's been doing, that's the one thing I'll say positively about the Steelers so far, is that every week Kenny Pickett is getting better and better, and that could be good news. Like honestly, I don't want the Steelers to be one and done with Kenny Pickett, even though I kept saying for weeks and weeks, just keep tanking for the top draft pick, man. But honestly, I really don't want them to do that, because clearly Kenny Pickett's moving in the right direction, and I don't want to see them ruin that with him. I don't want to see them ruin that with him. They just got to give him a better offensive coordinator to work with, and like I said, I think he's on the progress to making himself a name in the Steel City for a long time. If he keeps this up and he goes forward, he just needs a better offensive-minded coach, or not an offensive-minded coach, not a better offensive-minded coordinator. But who knows? I mean, if he can continue creating plays when Matt Canada's plays are clearly not working, then I think they should just do that going forward. But again, this should be a game that they should win on paper, but I don't know, man. I just have my doubts that they're going to do it. I feel like this is going to be that game where they get a lead, and then all of a sudden the Falcons actually make changes. Like, if the Steelers have got to make changes in the second half of because they almost blew that game against the Colts because they weren't making changes in the second half, and the Colts were, and they were leading over the Colts, I think 16-3 at that point, or was it 16-3? I gotta check. Give me 1 second. Yeah, 16-3. But in that third quarter, they almost came up, as the Colts came back in the third quarter, as they basically put up 14 points and had a 1-point lead going into the fourth quarter. And then, of course, that changed whenever Kenny Pickett made that call in the fourth quarter and that touchdown drive to Benny Snell. And really, that's really what I really think is that the Steelers should win this game, but I don't know. My brain is just telling me go with the Falcons just because this is the type of game that the Steelers are notoriously known for losing. A game where they should easily beat somebody, and then they don't do it. And I don't know, man. I just don't think that's gonna. I just don't have that good feeling inside me. I'm hoping I'm wrong. I'm hoping that I'm wrong. I'm trying to stay positive, but I also have to balance it out with the negatives. Like, the Steelers have had a tough stretch this season, and if they somehow, I mean, even if, I shouldn't even say that, because even if they, let's just say they win out, they still need help to get into the playoffs, and that's when the Steelers is usually at their worst, because they could play the best football that they could this month. They could play the best football they've ever played so far this season, this month. And it's not going to matter because they struggled so badly in the first 2 months of the season that you need miracles to happen to get to the playoffs. You need something like a collapse from somebody like the Ravens or the Bengals or the Jets, the Chargers, these teams that are in front of them right now. And I just don't see that happening right now. I mean, I think the best they could probably do is third in the division, because I don't think Cleveland's going to be that good, even with Deshaun Watson back in the lineup. Which, stay tuned for my predictions, because you might be surprised at what I have to say about that. But yeah, it's going to take a literal Christmas miracle for the Steelers to get into the playoffs. At this point, I mean, they could probably get some wins to keep Mike Tomlin's winning season record going, but other than that, I just don't see them making the playoffs at this point. Even if they go on a miraculous December run and that the football gods actually give them a break, I still don't think that's going to happen. So yeah, I want the Steelers to win, but I just have this feeling that it's going to be the Falcons in this one. I just don't feel like I just have that feeling that this is going to be one of those games that they should win and they won't be able to do it. And I think that dings their comeback effort here. And I think that's what's going to happen tomorrow. So, speaking of tomorrow, let's take a look at my predictions for the rest of Week 13. So last week I did pretty good. I had my second best week, tied with Week 2. So I did pretty good for that week. So I got the first one right. I got the Bills over the Patriots. There's the Falcons over the Steelers. Packers over the Bears. I think Aaron Rodgers will get one more chance to try to save the season, but considering that the Bears are not that very good either, I think that should be an easy win for them. I'm actually picking the Jaguars over the Lions, although I did hear Jamison Williams, the rookie wide receiver for the Lions, is playing tomorrow, so that could be a difference maker tomorrow, but I think I am going to go with the Jaguars. I think they're going to take that momentum they had with that win against the Ravens and take it into the next week. Vikings over the Jets, that's not going to be surprising. Giants over the Commanders, Titans over the Eagles. That's probably my surprise pick of the week, is that the Tennessee Titans will find a way to beat the Eagles. I think Derrick Henry's going to have a big day tomorrow. Baltimore over Denver, not surprisingly. The Texans over the Browns. I think the Texans are going to get revenge on Deshaun Watson tomorrow. Oh, and I think the Texans are going to pull out another surprise win there. Seahawks over the Rams. Rams are pretty much done for now with Matthew Stafford done for the year. 49ers over the Dolphins. That one, I think the 49ers get the best of the Miami Dolphins in that one. Speaking of the Rams, I should say that Matt Stafford is not out entirely for the season, but he's out until Week 17. But by that point, it doesn't even matter at that point. Chiefs over the Bengals. I think they finally get one over Joe Burrow. Raiders over the Chargers. I think the Raiders take that momentum. They'll run Josh Jacobs more. Cowboys over the Colts, not that surprising. And the Buccaneers over the Saints. I think the Buccaneers will sweep the season for the Saints, over the Saints, I should say. So, those are my predictions. Now let's take a look at the local predictions.
We're in the best place to try and beat the bus, the heartbeat of Rivers Casino. We're at the Bet Rivers Sportsbook, and it's a great place to be to get ready for the Steelers and Falcons. It's also a great place to be to tell everybody that I'm coming on strong.
Oh, yes, you are. I'm going to give you credit.
You know what? Well, I had nowhere to go but up. Let's just put it that way. So I'm going to break it to you here of all places. Yeah, I gained some serious ground last week. In our 7 games, I picked 6 of them correctly against the spread. Jenna had 4 right, and you had 3. So this is where it leaves us. Jerome, you and I are tied up again. Jenna's trailing us by only 1 game. 1 pick.
It's close.
It's very close.
It's tied.
As we head into the final stretch here. Amazing how close things are this late in the season, but that makes for great drama. Time now to look at the picks for this week. And we start with the Steelers at the Falcons, of course. The Steelers are 1-point favorite This number has been jumping around. Where do you fall on this one?
Well, I think that's a pretty good line. I think the Steelers definitely have the advantage. I think it's one of those situations that when you look at this matchup, I think the Steelers, they're the better football team right now, especially defensively. So I think with that, I think I'm going with the Steelers to win this one for sure.
All right, I'm going out on a limb. I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons. Jerome,
See, Albie knows what I'm thinking.
Steelers, so we already have one different pick, the first of many. You taught me, though, that's the key.
Yeah.
Go different.
I know we're just kind of jumping into it here. I did not get the BetMGM Steeler kickoff predictions, so I didn't get the stuff from KDKA. I didn't really get to see a whole lot of the game on my TV because I did go out, but I did watch most of it on my phone, so I am able to talk about it. And really, I'm glad they won. I mean, I kind of feel the same way that I did with the Colts win on Monday night because it felt like the same thing. The Steelers were dominating for much of the game, but then in the third quarter, they did it again. They allowed the Falcons to come back, almost came back and took the lead, but it even kind of ended with some bad clock management from the coach of the opposing team. This time it was Arthur Smith, and yeah, a lot of the same thoughts I had in this particular matchup could have also been said for what I said last week about the Colts. It was a good game all around. I was surprised George Pickens wasn't getting a whole lot of throws or catches to him. He only had one catch in this particular game, and he's been their workhorse the last couple of weeks. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened on that front. I don't know what was going on that front. But bottom line, the Steelers win. They're still in the hunt. I mean, like I said before, the thing that I really don't get about this team is that they always seem to have these moments where they just have these lulls and they just hope that other teams end up getting them help into the playoffs, because that's what they've been doing for the last couple of years. And it's just like, you could try to win yourself. I mean, it's just like they still have a chance. There were still some notable games today, like the Jets lost to the Vikings, which helps them. Not helping them is the fact that Baltimore won. Cincinnati is putting a good fight right now against the Chiefs right now, and Browns won today because heaven forbid if the Texans actually got revenge on Deshaun Watson, but no, they just let them run. The Browns just ran all over them today, I mean, there's still a chance they could sneak in there, but even at that point, I don't even think they'd be that good. I don't even think that they'd make much of an impact there. But I will say this, though. The offense did look a lot better today. The offense overall has been getting better and better each week. They're running the ball more, which is what you need to do. You need to run the ball yourself. And Kenny Pickett's getting better and better. The defense is actually struggling for the last couple of weeks. Like, they really are having a hard time stopping the run. And like I said before, you need to stop guys like Cordero Patterson from running down the field. But it was not just him. It was also the other guy, Tyler Algier, the rookie running back, who was really running through that defense in the third quarter. And it's just like, is this really what we're doing again? Because it really was getting to a point where it looked like the Falcons were going to try to take the lead, and then the Steelers, with a lot of luck, had a good running game of their own. Like, Najee Harris played, Jaylen Warren also played, which that was the big surprise to me that he played as well. Benny Snell had a couple of good runs. The running game is getting really good, and they really need to have that happen now with the games coming up, especially next week with Baltimore, which, by the way, Lamar Jackson, even though the Ravens won today, Lamar Jackson got a knee injury in the first quarter, and was basically the Trace McSorley show. Or was it? No, Trace McSorley was in Arizona. It was a Tyler Huntley. Was it McSorley or Huntley? Now I need to go check. It was Tyler Huntley who's playing for the Ravens right now. We don't know the status of what Lamar Jackson is going to be like next week, but that's a critical game, and that could be a real difference maker for the Steelers and the Ravens, because the Ravens are getting some injuries piling up. The Steelers are on the rise, and last year, in this particular game, it was the same situation. The Ravens were leading the division. They were the number one seed. They went to Pittsburgh, and they lost because of a bad 2-point conversion play at the end of the game. It's gonna be tough it's gonna be a tough game this time around, because the Ravens overall, depending on if Lamar Jackson is there, it's gonna be really interesting to see what happens. And Tyler Huntley can ball, man. I mean, granted he was playing the Denver Broncos, which the fact that they won on a last-second touchdown when the Broncos held the lead for over 59 minutes is just hilarious. It just shows you how bad the Broncos are right now. But yeah, there's still some optimism. But next week is going to be a critical game for it, and they really need to get that bounce back. So we will see what happens.